Your Holiness, Pope Leo XIV, Your Eminences, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, sisters and brothers, fellow pilgrims of hope, from every corner of our common home, both here in Castel Gandolfo and all of you joining us online. Welcome. Welcome to the Raising Hope Conference. My dear friends, my name is Yeb Sanyo, and I'm the chair of the board of the Laudato Si movement. It is a pleasure for me to welcome all of you to the conference. I invite to the stage, and we have with us Michelle McManus, a multi-awarded artist from Scotland, to sing for us a song inspired by Laudato Si, Because. Ladies and gentlemen, Michelle McManus.
Because the rivers do not drink their water, because the fruit trees don't devour their crop, because the sun gives light to all creation, the endless greed of humans has to stop. For nature shows how we should live for others. Forgo possessiveness and learn to share. And in a deep commitment to the planet, protect God's generosity with care. Praise to the Lord and lover of creation. Praise to the Son, in whom all life is found. Praise to the ever-active Holy Spirit, one God whose gifted world is common ground. One God whose gifted world is common ground.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you. Dear friends, I stand before you not just as a member of the Laudato Si movement, but also as a pilgrim and as a witness like many of you. I have seen the devastating fury of the climate crisis that has stolen lives and livelihoods in my own country, the Philippines. These lived experiences represent stories from people across the world. And they are the living embodiment of the twin crises that we are here to answer today: the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. 10 years ago, in a world that was struggling to find its moral compass on the challenges of the climate and ecological crisis, a powerful gift gave us profound inspiration. That gift was Laudato Si. It was a challenge not only to see and judge the world, but to listen to it and take action. To understand that the wounds of the planet are felt most deeply by the most vulnerable among us. Laudato Si transformed the way we understand faith, justice, and our very place in creation. So from the backdrop of severe climate impacts and that gift of Laudato Si, our movement was born. What started as a spark has become a global flame, uniting many people, millions of people, Catholics, Christians, people of all faiths, our partners from secular climate organizations, and all people of goodwill who share our common dreams. Our journey has been one of prayer, of action, and of walking together in solidarity amplifying the clamor for climate justice and ecological justice. So we gather here today and this week, a decade later, not just to mark an anniversary, but to answer a question that grows more urgent with every wildfire, with every flood, with every sunrise. That in the face of this deepening crisis, how do we dare raise hope? How do we dare raise hope? Our answer is this: we do it together. We do it by refusing to let our despair paralyze us and channeling it instead into determination and action. We do it by humbly listening to the aspirations of the youth whose moral clarity cuts through the complacency and calls us to a higher standard. We do it by honoring the wisdom of indigenous peoples who have been the faithful stewards of creation for millennia. We do it by journeying with people on every continent, from every faith, towards ecological conversion. We do it, above all, with the help of God, in the knowledge that if we do our part, God will be with us. So this conference is a testament that hope is an active, courageous, and collective choice. So before we hear your words, Holy Father, we would like to offer two testimonies from two friends of the Laudato Si movement who have been working as close allies with the movement in seeking to bring about change in the political and cultural spheres. Our first testimony is from the founder of the University of Southern California Schwarzenegger Institute for State and Global Policy, and the former governor of California, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much for this kind introduction. And thank you very much, Holy Father, and the Vatican for inviting me here to this very important event. And I say important event because, as you've just heard, together we can do it. Together we can accomplish our goal. The Catholic Church has 1.4 billion members. 1.4 billion Catholics out there. 400,000 priests. 600,000 nuns. 200,000 churches. Now think about that. That power. And for that to be involved in our movement, in our environmental movement, to terminate pollution. To terminate pollution. And of course, I'm very honored to be here because I'm next to an action hero. Now you're laughing because he doesn't look maybe like one, like you see in the movies with the muscles and with the guns and all that stuff. No. But the reason why I call him an action hero is because as soon as he became the Pope, he ordered the Vatican to put solar panels on top of the buildings. Think about that. This will be one of the first states very soon to be carbon neutral. So let's give them a big hand for this great, great action. Now, I was asked to come here, obviously, because I was the governor of the state of California, And we did the most aggressive environmental laws that we passed over this period of 7 years. And we went to work together, Democrats and Republicans, meaning liberals and conservatives, all united and worked together to pass those very, very tough environmental laws in California. And we passed one law after the next, so much so that eventually we reduced our greenhouse gases by 25%. We upped the renewables from 19% to 70%. And we did the million solar roofs, the Green Building Initiative, one law after the other. And we had the most success environmentally of any state in the United States. Now here comes the important thing. It wasn't easy. First of all, there were the naysayers that said it can't be done. It's impossible. You will ruin the economy. California will go in the ocean. But I have learned a long time ago from my bodybuilding career and my show business career and from my businesses, never to listen to the naysayers. Because everything that they said we will ruin the economy was a bunch of nonsense. Because look at it today. California has the strictest environmental laws in the United States, and we are #1 economically. #1 economically, with over $4 trillion GDP. And not only are we #1 economically in the United States, but the 4th largest economy in the world, even though we have the strictest environmental laws. The second thing they said was that you cannot do that because the federal government, the Bush administration at that time, they're against those environmental laws. They would not allow you to do that. We didn't worry about that. We marched ahead. We passed one law after the other, and then when the federal government came to us and said, stop, you can't do that anymore, we took them to court. And we went from one court to the next court, all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States. And the Supreme Court of the United States decided that we were right, we had the right to determine our air and to terminate pollution. And so we beat the federal government. So instead of just standing there like they're doing today so many times, they say, the federal government is not really for the environment, what should we do? I say, stop whining and get to work. Each and every one has the power. The federal government doesn't have the ultimate power. The states and the local governments do. We have the power. Imagine the cities, the states. That's where 70% of the action is. That's where 70% of the reduction of pollution is. So why am I looking at Washington and worry about Washington? It's nonsense. It's an excuse. So the other thing that I learned very quickly was, this is one of the most important things, is communication. You have to communicate the right way. When we started our environmental movement in California, when I became governor, people were not behind us. I said to myself, why is that? We're talking about climate change. 20% of the people said, yeah, this is kind of dangerous. Well, you need more than 50%, right, to get anything done. So we talked then about the rising sea level. Nothing, the needle didn't move. We talked about the glaciers melting, the ice is melting, the polar bear is in danger. No matter what we said, it didn't move the needle, nothing happened. But then the American Lung Association sent us a television commercial, a little commercial that showed a kid, a little tiny kid, trying to inhale almost was impossible, and then this child faded. We don't know what happened. Did it die? did pass out, or whatever. That little spot we put right away on television. And all of a sudden, everyone got interested, and we had 62% of the people behind us going with the environmental laws, and that's how we were able to succeed and to pass all of those environmental laws. So communication is so important. You can talk about climate change, but climate change kills a lot of people. Yes, but it's 500,000 people in the last 10 years. That's 500,000 too many. But let's not forget, pollution kills 7 million people according to the World Health Organization. 7 million people a year. So we should talk about terminating pollution and not about climate change. This is what is so important about communication. We got to talk about pollution because people understand that. They don't understand when you're talking about carbon zero, when you talk about 1.5% of Celsius we can increase, and then it gets to be dangerous. What do you think, the average person knows what that means? Of course not. So we got to talk instead of the brain, we got to talk to the heart so that people understand it. So this is the most important thing, is communication. And on the end, I just want to say to you that I have a very clear vision that we can do it together. We can go and terminate pollution. We can go and wipe it out if we all work together. If we all work together, because God put us in this earth by leaving this earth a better place than we inherited it. So let's do it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Our second testimony is from the Minister of Environment and Climate Change from the Federative Republic of Brazil, which is hosting the UN Climate Talks COP30 next month. She is the head of the joint COP30 UN Global Ethical Stocktake, and she's the UN Champion of the Earth. My dear friends, Minister Marina Silva. Marina, the floor is yours.
Primeiro, eu quero agradecer a Deus por estarmos todos juntos aqui. Sua Santidade, Papa Leão XIV, eminências, ilustres convidados e convidadas. É com dupla satisfação, como Ministra do Meio Ambiente e Mudança do Clima da República Federativa do Brasil, que participo junto com cada um de vocês. E também pelo fato de ser inspirada pelos valores cristãos, que eu estou aqui nessa conferência para celebrarmos os 10 anos da encíclica Laudato Si do Papa Francisco. Além do encorajamento que nasce da sinergia entre pessoas de todos os cantos do planeta, com os mesmos compromissos, uma razão especial de estímulo é ver a Igreja Católica e nossos irmãos de outras religiões promovendo ações de enfrentamento da emergência climática, um dos maiores desafios que a humanidade já enfrentou até hoje. Ao mesmo tempo, este encontro oferece uma oportunidade a todos para que se engajem nesse esforço com coragem e esperança. A encíclica Laudato Si promove a ecologia integral, dever do cuidado entre as pessoas e das pessoas com o jardim da criação, reafirmando o mandato de Deus aos seres humanos, em Gênesis 2, versículo 15. O Papa Francisco criticou o consumismo, a desigualdade e o desenvolvimento irresponsável, que avilta o propósito divino original. Relembrou que o mandato divino implica uma relação de reciprocidade responsável entre o ser humano e a natureza. O notável impacto da pedagogia de todas as ações desenvolvidas a partir da encíclica colaborou de forma acentuada com outra iniciativa, que também completa 10 anos, o Acordo de Paris. Estabelecido na COP21, o acordo prevê o compromisso de todos os países membros da Convenção do Clima das Nações Unidas de não permitir a elevação da temperatura média da Terra para além de 1,5 graus Celsius. O Acordo de Paris representou também um marco por outras decisões importantes, como a do princípio das responsabilidades comuns para todos os países, porém com contribuições diferenciadas no enfrentamento da crise climática conforme a capacidade de cada um. Criou as metas de mitigação de longo prazo para reduzir e estancar as emissões de carbono. As metas de adaptação para reduzir a vulnerabilidade frente à situação de emergência climática. Reafirmou ainda a necessidade dos países desenvolvidos aportarem recursos financeiros para países em desenvolvimento no montante de 1,3 trilhões de dólares, segundo a atualização que foi feita recentemente na COP29. Essas obrigações dos países desenvolvidos não têm sido cumpridas a despeito dos contundentes argumentos da ciência, tanto da ciência moderna quanto da ciência produzida pelos saberes ancestrais dos povos indígenas, de entidades da sociedade civil e das religiões. Nesse mesmo período, por outro lado, uma média de 4 a 6 trilhões de dólares anuais continua a ser destinado para a indústria de energia fóssil. Em 2023, na COP30, em que pese o retardo, em Dubai, alcançamos alguns avanços importantes. Graças ao primeiro balanço geral, constatou-se a insuficiência do cumprimento das metas de redução de CO2. Pela primeira vez, os países foram convocados a realizar uma transição justa e planejada para o fim do desmatamento e para o fim do uso de combustível fóssil. Tomou-se a decisão de triplicar a produção de energia renovável